welcome to my video. Whether or not you're new to my channel doesn't really matter, as I've never really made this type of content before. This is just a unscripted ramble as to what I think Ram should have been, or was intended to be lore-wise, the secret boss of Chapter 3 over some speed paints I have made. I have not extensively researched this topic. I'm just an autistic little guy who wants to talk about my favorite little goober over speed paints of him. At the end is a speed paint of the Spamtenna drawing I posted in my shorts a little while, if anybody really just wants to watch Spamtenna instead. With further ado, I will get into my silly little theory. I understand this theory is a bit silly, but it matters a lot to me, and to me, it makes sense. If you don't agree, that's fine. We can be civil about it in the comments. Personally, I like to connect Ram and the other secret bosses for a lot of reasons. One being how all of them mention freedom. Ram does so quite a few times in the Sword Route dialogue, I believe. I have seen some screenshots of these. If I can find them, I will put them on screen here. Going off of that, Ram also has the silly speech patterns not often seen in other characters. Yes, that is just having a British accent in this case, which isn't, a great example, but I think it's silly. Another important thing to notice is that during the last Sword Route fight with what is the Shadow Mantle, also known as John Mantle or E-Ram, before it, Ram makes some kind of threatening statements. I will put up a picture of it if I can find it, where he threatens to give Chris something electrifying, which that sounds like a threat to me, not a friendly haha silly have a good time. After the fight with E-Ram or John Mantle, it can be very clearly seen that Ram disappears, therefore leading me to think he was, if not, kidnapped or killed by Mini Chris, he was the one controlling E-Ram. And because E-Ram also damages Chris, it would make sense that Chris was damaging the person controlling E-Ram. In this part of the video, you can see that I changed from drawing my basic design for Ram to what I think a secret boss design of him could have looked like. Seeing as Ram is also one of the Plug Boys from Chapter 2, I'll put a picture on screen if, again, I can find them, it would make sense if he could turn into a werewire. I was thinking that, if Ram was supposed to be the secret boss outside of E-Ram, it could have had something to do with him either getting possessed by the Shadow Mantle or him getting plugged into something similar to the Plug Boys in Chapter 2 can get plugged in and become werewires. So going off of that, I spent actually a lot of time looking at the werewires from Chapter 2 and decided to base him off that, but also give him the Shadow Mantle cape for, to add that in. I play around with the colors a lot at some point, but I do eventually brighten them from Ram's original colors just because the dull ones didn't look as pretty. I'd like to think that if Ram did become the secret boss, that he wouldn't be doing it to seek his own freedom or to free himself after learning whatever truth it is that the Shadow Crystals show the secret bosses. I like to think that he'd instead go absolutely insane looking for Chris's freedom, as it's very much so set up that all Ram wants is Chris to be happy. On top of that, it would make a lot of sense that he had become, absolutely stuck on trying to free Chris, and maybe he wouldn't quite understand that the soul is connected to them, and would be trying to free Chris from those strings. So he would activate a fight and try to save Chris from the soul, not realizing he was hurting Chris in the process. And I think that would lead to some really interesting, moral dilemmas and developments of the character, and honestly, a really emotionally heavy fight. I also completely understand that a lot of people don't like that interpretation, and that they think it's a lot better that Ram stayed the way that he was treated in the game. And, I think that's fine, too. Ram was a good character, and he's still good in the game, even if I think his end is a little too tragic for me because he's my Bloro. Here we go into the Spam Tenna drawing. This was really fun. I'd never drawn Tenna before. I think I made a few mistakes, but I'm still actually really happy with how it turned out. It's really fun for me to draw cityscapes, and while I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to do shading and rendering correctly, I'm proud of this. I'd love to make more content on these guys in the future, and I hope you guys would be interested in seeing that. Maybe I could make some more long form content psychoanalyzing the little guys, if you guys would like that. But as this is my RAM video, I can save that for later. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like a video dedicated to Spam Tenna, my thoughts on them, how I think they could have worked, possible dynamics, etc., because I can make that. But back to RAM, I think going off some of the things I said earlier, he can make a really interesting secret boss, and you can even go different ways and say he didn't become a werewire, and maybe that the Shadow Mantle possessed him. I am actually working on a comic following that thought process, where Ram is given the Shadow Crystal because the knight arrives on time, and while having a little bit of a breakdown, knowing the truth and wanting to free Chris from their strings, Ram would allow himself to be possessed by the more powerful Shadow Mantle, and then for a really interesting boss battle, they could become one, and it would combine the fight effects from the Sword Route into a boss fight with the Blorbo Ram. I just think that would be really nifty. If I figure out how to do some game coding, I might actually make something with that. All that said, I just think Ram is a really cool guy. I love his design. I love the tragicness of his character, and just how it's left wanting more, especially with how you aren't able to take Ram to Castletown. He's just left with never belonging anywhere. And I think it's a really interesting way to show how that can affect a person, and how, while sometimes people like Tenna, who feel left behind, are able to find new people, sometimes people aren't. And that's sad. And it leaves you in a place to really, really think about Ram. And it's just, I hate the Pippins, the hater Pippins, I've seen some fanfic call them, that are giving the little backstory for Ram. I want to reach the screen and punch that guy. How dare he slander my boy? Yeah. I hope you guys liked my little unscripted rant. I know it probably won't do well, but thank you for watching. Have a really good day, and I hope I can make more of this content in the future.